Hello, and welcome to the Appeal Democrats' ongoing series of interviews and discussions with folks who are on the ballot running in the November 2012 election for local offices. Today, we're here with Marysville Mayor Bill Harris, who is running for another term as mayor. Mayor Harris, welcome.
Thank you very much, Ben. It's great to be here.
Let's talk a little bit. For most people, the big issue in this election, both nationally and locally, is going to be the economy, and there's been a lot of discussion about the future of Marysville's economy. What do you see as mayor, your role, and what can you do to help its economy expand in the next few years?
Well, the economy probably is the most challenging hurdle that we're going to have in the future. I think one of the things that I can do as mayor and the city can do is try and attract businesses in the town. We've had pretty good luck over the past several years with expanding development. Marysville is such a small area, and we've been built out for years. We've been really good at developing the areas around Ellis Lake. There's about 4 different developments there. They bring in small businesses and they contribute to our economy. We've worked very hard to establish a Washington Square development, and that's been very important for us. So that's one of the biggest things I think we can do, is just try and bring in more businesses into town. Just continue doing what we're doing. It's a slow process for us. Marysville has had the same economic challenges that the entire nation has had, and it's been a difficult few years for us, but I'm very optimistic about Marysville's future.
You mentioned Marysville's future and also its limitations in terms of its area. There's been a lot of discussion about expanding the sphere of influence to include the Linda area. Some people say logically there should be a progression toward at some point possibly annexing some of that. What are your feelings on that topic?
Well, I agree. That's probably in the future. We're trying to expand our sphere of influence, and that's important for us to look at when we look at future growth. But honestly, I think right now we need to focus on where we're at in the city limits. We need to focus on growth there. We need to have people see Marysville be successful in terms of the economic growth, excuse me, both successful in that regard, and also that they'll want us to expand, and so they'll ask us to come into the area after they see how well we manage our own growth and manage our own city.
Another thing, looking toward the future, City Manager Steve Casey is retiring. There's some talk, some other administrators probably nearing toward the end of their careers as well. What will you be looking for as a mayor in terms of qualities and things brought to the table for future administrators for the city itself?
Well, we've been really fortunate with Steve Casey. We've had him at our table for about 10 years now. That's about 3 times longer than the average city manager lasts in most small cities. So we've been very, very fortunate to have Steve there. Steve came from a small city background, so he's very knowledgeable of what the needs of small cities are. And basically that's what we're looking for now. We've just finished a round of interviews. We've made a job offer to one particular individual, and he would bring much to the table, the same that Steve Casey would bring. But basically we want somebody that knows the needs of a small town atmosphere. There's a big difference between the needs of a small city like Marysville and the needs of a larger city. Even our friends across the river in Yuba City, different needs. Different type of economy, different geography. So we need somebody that really recognizes the needs of a small city like Marysville.
And there's also lately been some discussion about the police union and the contracts there, and some issues also related to the volunteers. What do you see as the way forward on that topic?
Well, let me begin by saying we have a wonderful group of city employees, not just our police officers, but the entire city workforce. They work for years, frankly, being underpaid. We are a city of 12,000 people with a median income of around $36,000. We can only afford to pay so much. And for years, our city employees, they recognize that. And they've worked for less pay than they perhaps would have gotten somewhere else. I really respect them, admire them for the dedication they put into the city. And our police officers work hard. I'll stand man for man. They're the best cops out there. Never a doubt about that. Now, we are in a situation right now where there's a disagreement between an employer and an employee regarding pay and benefits. That's not an uncommon disagreement. As a matter of fact, that's probably more common than not. It's prevalent all over. I mean, that's basically it. There's always disagreements between pay and benefits for an employer and employee, and that's all we're at this point. I prefer to play those cards out over the bargaining table and not the news media. So we've been very quiet about that. We simply want to deal with our employees. I understand where they're coming from. I understand the situation that they're in, and I understand that they're underpaid. But we can only afford to pay them what we can afford to pay them. But I can again say that we are very lucky to have the caliber of officers and all city employees working for the city. Our citizens are very safe. Those are good people out there, and I really would like to pay them as much as any other agency makes. But we can only afford to pay what we can afford to pay.
And finally, what's your best sales pitch? Why do you feel you should be elected to another term as mayor?
Well, I've got 14 years on the city council. I've been mayor for 8 years. It's been a very tough 8 years. Over that period of time, you make hundreds of decisions. Some decisions work out well, some not. But you make all your decisions simply based on the amount of information you have at the time. Looking forward to another 4 years. We have a lot of challenges ahead, but there are a lot of bright spots also too. The Enterprise Rancheria, we signed an agreement with them a decade ago. They're at the cusp of starting their project. Financially, that will be very positive for the city. And that was a tough issue. If you'll remember back 10 years ago, a single vote on the council would have eliminated that agreement. I don't necessarily think that it would have eliminated the project. Mm-hmm. The project, I know there's been a lot of discussion about the advisory vote that was taken regarding that. If you take that advisory vote today with our area looking at, approaching 20% unemployment, I think that vote would change drastically. I think that's a very positive thing for the community. We're looking at hundreds of jobs coming in, and more importantly, we're looking at revenue directly to the city, and that will go a long ways toward assisting the city in the economic issues that we're going to have to deal with.
Okay. Mayor Harris, thanks very much for your candid responses and thoughts. We will be speaking with the other mayoral candidates in the race, as well as people on the Marysville City Council. Until next time, thanks.